Hello, my name's Michael Conneely, and this video and its accompanying blog post are all about what you'll feel when Ketu, the south node of the moon, transits across your Libra planets. What will happen? And I'm doing this because on the 12th of April, the nodes of the moon changed sign. Rahu North Node into Aries, Ketu South Node into Libra. And this creates a very big pressure of new energy. And I've done a number of videos and blogs in the run-up. This is actually part 4. So the earlier parts look at the meaning of the nodes in the signs of Aries and Libra, the nodes in the Nakshatras involved, and what it means to have Rahu or Ketu transiting through a house in your birth chart. What area of life is affected? But here, in this part 4, we look at what does it mean to have Ketu transiting across any planets you have in Libra. And the final part, upcoming, focuses on what will it mean to have Rahu transiting across any planet you happen to have in Aries in your birth chart. Very big transits amid a totally new energy current, making us take stock of our life, change the way we feel and act, and change our direction forward. So first of all, let's look at what you're likely to feel and experience when Ketu, the south node, transits across your sun in Libra, if you have sun in Libra. And you'll be feeling this for the coming 18 months. Obviously rising to a peak when Ketu's exactly conjunct your sun. And what I've found is that this will tend to make you feel weak and unsure. It could also raise issues arising from the fathering you received. And indeed, your father, if he's alive, could be suffering. Basically, Ketu can darken and dissolve the sun, and so we can become weak or feel we are so weak. Definitely, you could become an anarchist and start to hate your boss. But at a higher level, you could grow in awareness of the divine sun. Every planet is a face of the ultimate divine. The ultimate purpose of the strong sun is to shine his blessings on all. If we are the fullness of our sun, we are the competent charioteer who drives the chariot of ourself. And of course, the competent charioteer with a strong sun must be able to shine his blessings on all, but also be able to manage the horses that pull the chariot of self, where the horses are all the other planets. The competent charioteer must be able to choose the correct path forward. So Ketu transiting the sun raises all these issues about what a strength and weakness of sun. And we can be left very confused for a time. But the divine purpose of this confusion and the feelings of weakness is actually to make us come to a more appropriate level of perception and choice of life path, and to learn to combat and dissolve the confusion or weakness we might be feeling. The insight you could develop at this painful time is potentially vast. Okay, let's look at what it means to have Ketu transiting your moon, if you have moon in Libra. For the coming 18 months, obviously peaking at the time of the exact conjunction, This transit can bring all sorts of fears, phobias, agitations, hissy fits, hypersensitivities. Buried wounds will open up now to be dealt with. It's an energy that's haunted or psychic, and your mother may be suffering. The Ketu moon combination is in the charts of some terrible, mad politicians and warmongers, but it's also in the charts of some saints. If you can find ways of managing your mind, you will become much more intuitive. It can be very good at this time to do a chakra activation, and this is true for Ketu transiting any of the planets, including the Sun, which I've just mentioned. The Rainbow Bridge technique is very good. Ultimately, Ketu transiting your moon is an energy that can make you have vast spiritual, emotional and psychic awareness. Okay, let's go on to Ketu transiting Mercury in the coming 18 months. If you have Mercury in Libra, and again, it'll be at its strongest when Ketu is exactly conjunct your natal Mercury. Well, basically, this brings out an unusual way of thinking. A scattering of mental energies all over the place might happen. So this energy is managed by learning how to focus and prioritize, and by allowing your most creative mental insights to be the touchstone for prioritization of what you do in your life now. Ketu is intuitive, Mercury is intellectual, and it's a difficult combination, and you could make some very wrong judgments. You could implement some very wrong intuitions at this time. But the highest gift of this transit is to open up to your intuition and embody what you come to through doing that. And then apply your intellect to what is right for you, so as to produce wonderful writing or artistic expression that you just could not really reach before. You see, the sort of educational system doesn't particularly validate Ketu Mercury type ways of thinking and inspirations, so we can be dislodged from our proper expression of our mind. But Ketu transiting Mercury can bring us to the right path for our mind, for our communication, for our writing, for example. Okay, let's look at Ketu transiting Venus, if you have Venus in Libra at this time. And again, when Ketu transits exactly conjunct Venus, that's when you'll feel it the strongest, but we'll feel it the whole 18-month period of the Ketu through Libra transit. It's really important to know that this transit could make you very critical of your relationship. Catch yourself if you're doing that. It's so important to see that the highest use of this Ketu to Venus energy is probably for you to really work closely and lovingly with your partner to jointly raise the relationship to a more and more spiritual level. Past life love relationship issues will surface. So devotion and companionship are the goals. Remember, Ketu to Venus transit dissolves any love relationship that is not strong. Art can come a spiritual triumph if you're artistically inclined when you're having a Ketu to Venus transit. Another possibility is that you could become much less materialistic if you're that way inclined and go in for a much simpler life. It's very important at this time to do past life journeying, and I offer it in conjunction with a reading, and my wife Maggie Pashley offers a couple of past life modalities, including past life, future life work. Okay, what about Ketu transiting Mars if you have Mars in Libra? So this is a damaging, fiery, reckless, impulsive, violent and prone to accidents energy. You could become more intolerant and aggressive. Negatively, it can occasionally tend to a sort of psychosis, but positively it can bring cutting, piercing insight. With the Ketu to natal Mars transit, spiritual progress can be sudden. Beware taking risks. Avoid arguments. Past trauma and woundedness can surface now, but to be understood and healed. Be careful of inflammation and vaccine side effects. Positively, it's about understanding yourself better and building up your creative strength. Okay, Ketu transiting Jupiter in Libra. Well, this brings a battlefield as to whether your Jupiter is made more spiritual and whether you will thus develop more knowledge and wisdom, refinement and philosophical insight, or whether your Jupiter expression becomes somehow twisted by the Ketu transit, producing dogmatic pseudo-religion. Remember above all that fierce cutting Ketu must not be allowed to cut out compassion for yourself and others. This can be a time when you'll reject the religious program you were subjected to as a child. This can become a time when you will definitely find your own personal, more transcendent spirituality. Now, Jupiter is the character or indicator for husband in a woman's chart. So this transit can mean that the husband will be experiencing difficulties. And great care needs to be taken to make the relationship closer, if possible, and more a place of caring and spiritual awareness and sharing, which produces the caring and spiritual awareness and commitment. Okay, we next come to Ketu transiting Saturn in Libra. This can be a time of material meltdown or the destruction of difficult karmas, with the need to find new beliefs and pathways now. But the Ketu Saturn energy can be very melancholy or mendicant. Beware fundamentalism, don't slot into that. And beware stubbornness that Saturn can go into. Ketu with Saturn is separative and detaching, can bring sadness, disillusionment, can destroy your spiritual potential and block you from making breakthroughs you could achieve. There can be very great pressures at this time. There can be unexpected events. So we move to Ketu transiting Uranus, if you have Uranus in Libra in your birth chart. This can be a time of material meltdown or the destruction of difficult karmas, but with the need to find new beliefs and pathways now. But the energy can be... Oh, sorry, I've just read the Saturn paragraph. Ketu transiting Uranus is a great opportunity for reviewing your life and bringing in needed revolution and change. Ketu transiting Uranus is a surprising, unexpected sort of revolution. It's renewal, it's overcoming blocks. An interest in electronics and gadgets can suddenly surface. But the energy of Ketu transiting your natal Uranus can be destabilization, and it can be very difficult to plan and chart a course forward. There could be unpleasant surprises and nervousness-based illness systems. You might be tempted to take on board maverick freak pathways with the Ketu Uranus. Don't do that. But ideally, intelligence, innovation, originality and vision will all increase, and your transformation can be wired and sudden. Okay, let's go on to looking at Ketu transiting Neptune in Libra. This can manifest as increased intuition, vision and mysticism and clairvoyance. The highest manifestation of this is in the area of spirituality and healing. Talents of this type from your past lives can manifest and increase. But the preservation of needed boundaries is something you need to watch out for. Fantasy and drugs and denial and falsity are the downside risks of Ketu transiting Neptune. It's risky for drugs and vaccines. At its highest, it includes shamanic journeying, shamanic healing and dream work. If your Neptune is near the Imum Chali in your chart, the bottom of the chart, this can activate sensitivity to land energies and geomancy. It can manifest as clairvoyance or clairaudience and mystical music or art if you have musical and art abilities. Beware reveling in being the victim at the time of Ketu transiting Neptune. Beware escapism. Beware disintegration because of unacknowledged, unconscious shadow material. So we now move on to Ketu transiting Pluto in Libra, if you have that. And for the coming 18 months, this will indicate a deep issue around power and powerlessness. A deep issue will arise, often from past life, and can relate to a terribly damaging previous experience that will arise now to be healed. Negatively, this energy is dark and destructive and violent, catastrophe and loss. Ketu transiting Pluto. But the call is to come more and more into your right empowerment, and indeed it can be so good to do a journey to the abyss along the lines of Persephone, or Ishtar, also called Inanna. Discover your hidden, forgotten power. Regenerate at the time of this Ketu to Pluto transit. Restore, regain. Find the solution that you could not find before. Understand and heal your past. Become the hero you were born to be, and do this by vision work, for example. Okay, 3 more to look at. Ketu transiting Chiron, if you have Chiron in Libra. If you have Chiron in Libra, Ketu transit will activate your wounds in the area of relationship. You may repeat in your adult relationships your relationship with the parent of the opposite sex, or your parent's dysfunctional way of relating. Ketu to Chiron in Libra transit may activate hidden assumptions about relationships that were built into your unconsciousness as a child. And you might not know you've got them. Maybe the hidden deep belief that relationships are dangerous or have to be entered in a shadow way, etc. Or they have to be entered in the Libran way with a mask of politeness to conceal hostility and picky criticism, or with non-relating, or with self-defense rather than trust, with brittle defensiveness, or with pleasing everyone, or with destructive diplomacy and tact. All these Chiron wounds lead to sorrow, isolation, defensiveness, etc. So this could be a difficult time if Ketu is transiting over your natal Chiron in Libra. So remember to find the highest manifestation of Chiron energy, which is that as we heal, we become the healer of others. We now come to the nodal return, the last two of the transits. First of all, Ketu South Node transiting your natal Rahu North Node in Libra. And this means you must cultivate deep awareness. Basically, the energy of your past life path is transiting over your incarnational future life path, over your forward destiny path. So you are pulled in two opposite directions, Rahu and Ketu, future and past. Dream work can be very valuable, past life journeys, past life healings. And both me and my wife do those, they're on our websites. It's amazing what vastness of realization is contained in our dreams. They're not at all as superficial as we might think. We need to learn to go into our dream fragments, which might appear superficial, so as to discover the vastness of meaning that each dream fragment contains. Dream work's wonderful. Obviously, past life healing, past life, future life work, past life journeying can be so helpful now. Have a reading, an astrology reading, Vedic and Western, about the meaning of the nodes of the moon in your birth chart coming in